Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion this evening on future of mobility and manufacturing. This panel is organized by Vinay and team at Throat Product. Thank you so much, Vinay and team. Thanks to all our speakers, and on behalf of the speakers, let me also thank all our audience members joining us online. We hope to get to your questions and answers afterwards, but let me first introduce our three speakers who are Parul Agi, co-founder of Aerologics, Kumar Ranjan, VP at DriveBuddy, and Shumam Singh, co-founder and CEO of Crust. So the first speaker will be Parul Agi, co-founder and CEO of Aerologics in Bangalore. She was earlier with DRDL and has worked on missile design. She jokes that rocket science is actually not that difficult, though it is for most of us. She's also worked in other companies on topics such as solar-powered aircraft design. She enjoys life as an entrepreneur, and as she jokes, she works 80 hours a week so that she doesn't have to work 40 hours a week in their corporate life. We will then have Kumar Ranjan joining us. He's the VP at DriveBuddy.ai. He's been in the automotive industry since 2011, has also founded an autonomous car project called Project Manas, which is India's first driverless car at the autonomy level 2. He also co-founded a high-performance electric car company, has won a number of awards, including the Rex Karamveer Global Fellowship by the UN and the St. Lawrence Leaders of Tomorrow. He's also very active with state governments and policymakers on issues of policy regarding electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles, and is a prolific writer as well. Our third panelist is Shubham Singh, co-founder and CEO of Futuristic Material Labs, which is a Techstars company. Techstars is the very high-profile global accelerator of startups. Shubham also has been an SIIP Fellow, Social Innovation Immersion Program from the Department of BT, Government of India. Also won many awards such as the Birac Soch Innovation Challenge for Rural Awards and Innovation at the Conference on Social Innovation. He's also alumni of Pitch at Palace from the Duke of York, has been involved with social issues from a very young age. And check this out, he founded his first startup, a non-profit called Gramiksha in 2011 at the age of 19, so very well established in this field of social enterprise. So a big welcome to all of you, to Parul, Kumar and Shubham. We have one constraint, which is Parul is on very short battery life because of the power cut in some parts of Bangalore. So I'm going to ask her to begin this discussion and speak as long as she has battery life. So the question would be, tell us a bit about your company, what your offerings are, how has COVID impacted you for the better or for the worst, and what are some recommendations you can give based on your journey ahead. So do we have Parul with us now? Parul? Vinay, can you just ping Parul? So for those of you who are not aware, Bangalore had very heavy rains over the night and some parts are without power. So some people are struggling to get some battery life to join us on this connection. So Parul hopefully will be joining us. I think she's not logged in as yet, so let's hope she does log in. In that case, let us turn to you, Kumar. Maybe Kumar, you can get us started with a bit of a journey. How did you get your idea for the product? You're a serial entrepreneur now, so what got you to launch this new one, and what are some of your plans going ahead? You're on mute, Kumar.
Yeah, hi. So honestly, I never had a plan to start a company. I never had a plan to go on a typical startup. And I started as early as 2014 when the whole startup industry was still getting in shape. And what I felt was that there was a problem in front of me. There was an opportunity in front of me. And I just had that, feeling that I can, execute it, I can do it. And thankfully, all the stakeholders around me who were there to support were pretty positive about the opportunity. And so we started out working on autonomous technology. What we didn't realize was, of course, there were a lot of things which we had to figure out, like the business model, the revenue model, and all these things, which we never did. Like typically right now when a startup is initiating their journey, they have to make a pitch deck, they have to make a business plan, they have to make all those models, which I never did. It was just a moment of spur. We decided to kind of work around, and slowly we kind of learned on the go. We kind of failed multiple times. We raised some funds. We went bankrupt a couple of times, and ultimately slowly we realized what is the right fit for the market, and that is where the typical metrics which investors ask you for, are very important. And that is when we realized that there is a need for safety in the commercial vehicles. That is going to be very, very crucial for the industry. And we started working around that. We started building a product. And in 1.5 years, we were able to grow from a team of 2 people to almost 10 people now. We close around, and today we have a product which is in place. But unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, we were supposed to launch this month, and our go-to-market was pretty much planned on the scenario before COVID. But this whole Corona thing changes everything. So
now, okay, we'll come to that in a second. Let's just get to Parul and then come back to you and then to Shiva. So Parul, can you hear us now?
Yeah, Madan, I can hear you.
Yeah, so go ahead and speak for as long as you can, as long as you got battery, on some of the issues we discussed earlier, which is how did you get the idea, where are you in your journey, what's happening with COVID, and what's happening next. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, so just to introduce, I'm Parul, co-founder of Aerologics. So we are into drone space right now. We are providing drone-based services for agriculture, basically. So we started with agriculture, did a couple of other things. Middle, like we did survey projects, we did mining projects, we did photography as well. Then finally we went back to agriculture again. So now with the COVID, we have faced a lot of issues because of the components, because China market was closed for like a long time. We could not get our components. In India, they are like almost double the rates. So now we have, done few things in-house, and we have built. So we have done few projects for COVID as well, for forest departments. We have done few, but obviously there was like a pro bono thing. They haven't paid us yet. So yeah, there are a couple of issues which we are facing on the financial side in the COVID, because we are not getting passes for the providing services. Even we have like the product ready, but to get the necessary clearance, it's very difficult job. Though it's very, and moreover the things they are doing, like for this using the sanitizers in drones and all, so that's not viable solution. If I'll talk about like you guys must have seen few articles that they are deploying drones over different areas, just for sanitizing that particular hotspot. But if when we saw that solution, it was not viable because the drone endurance with the current technology available, it's like 15 minutes with almost 20 liters of capacity. Whether if I use any ground vehicle, like if I can use some electric vehicles or any like ground vehicle based solution, that will be more viable for in our prospect. That's what we figured out. So that is what we are doing in the COVID right now. We are basically into surveillance. We are providing solutions because there is lack of manpower available. So that's we are providing surveillance-based solutions right now. And otherwise, we are just developing few of the software products only, not much on the hardware side development is happening.
So are there any new things that you're doing specifically which are COVID-centric?
Not especially COVID-centric, but yeah, we are developing few things like for the product delivery, contactless delivery, using drones, and which is almost, I would say, 80-85% ready, but it is stuck because of we are not getting appropriate components here in India, and it's very difficult to import it right now. So we are just waiting. We have applied for a few clearances. We should be able to get it by like first week of May.
Okay, so what do things look like in the recovery period? I mean, the lockdown is going to be lifted in about a week to 10 days from now. So how soon you think for you, in your case, before things start looking better and deals start getting struck?
Yeah, once this lockdown gets over, then our main focus is on agriculture front, because again there will be no new crop sowing season in different parts of the country. So we have got a couple of projects in the pipeline for May and June, and we are also talking to few other countries apart from India for this NDVI solutions in agriculture using drones. So we have got, but I don't know whether for international projects we'll be able to do it or not because of the conditions over there, especially in Europe, because we are talking to countries in Europe itself. And then if I'll talk about India, we will be providing pesticide spray solutions and we'll be providing few service solutions for the forest departments. And yeah, like it is good time for us because we are providing, as I already mentioned, we are providing solutions in the agriculture domain. So in agriculture domain, our solutions which are ready is like right now is the seed bombing solutions, and it's we generally do it in the pre-monsoon season. Once there is like 2 or 3 rains are done, then we'll provide the seed bombing solutions at a large scale. So we are already talking to we have got one POC from Karnataka Forest Department for the same. We are also talking to UP government, and we are also talking to Telangana government for these projects. So hopefully we should be able to do that in next 2 months.
Very good. Last two quick questions. Do you have any competition? Are there any other companies doing similar things, or what's your differentiator?
Like in drone space, there are almost more than 100 companies in India itself who are doing different solutions. But if I talk about the seed bombing, the mechanisms which we have developed in India, no one has that solution right now. People are doing seed spraying, but they are not doing the seed bombing. So we have developed a mechanism in which a projectile-based seed can, penetrate the ground up to 5 to 6 centimeters. So which increases the germination rate by almost 70% of that particular seed. So that solution no one has developed in India. So there are almost 4 companies worldwide who are doing this solution. One of them has already deployed the solution in Australia bushfires.
So does it make sense to file a patent for what you've done?
We are in the process of that.
Oh, very nice. Last question would be, what are your recommendations or words of advice to the other startups in the audience? One maybe from your journey so far in general, and maybe one on how to cope with this uncertainty of the COVID crisis.
So my journey, if I'll talk about it, was as I was listening to Kumar also, and I have met him a couple of times. We both were a part of DNA program. And so it was like exactly roller coaster ride. We gone bankrupt so many times. Then we have got few funds from Karnataka government. We have got other funds as well. Like we have won few prizes. But yeah, again, it's like you should not lose the hope in the end. It's because it's like a hard-earned effort you have put in like for last 2 years. If I talk about my journey, like I was there, we started in like 2017 end. So it's been more than 2 years now. We have put in the effort. Just because of these 3 months, I don't think, we just should give up and think, no, nothing is working out. And it's just a continuous effort and, continuous support which we are getting from ecosystem as well. There are a lot of webinars going up. There are a lot of funding opportunities coming up because of this COVID thing. I think there should be few good chances after this COVID thing gets over. So let's see. Let's hope for the best. That's what I can say right now.
Very good, Parul. Thanks so much. Now conserve your battery for other more important things for your family and your friends.
I'll be there for another couple of minutes till my phone goes down. So I'll listen to all of you. I might not be able to speak much, but I'll listen to you.
Great. Yeah, sure. Thanks. In that case, thanks so much, Parul. All the best, and stay for as long as you can, as long as you want.
Yeah, sure.
Let's get back to where we were with Kumar. Kumar, you're talking to us about how you finally got the idea, you launched, and you checked what was there in the market, etc.
Correct. So I think this was like a moment of realization when we were actually talking to the ministry and we're talking to departments. And we realized that, our startup journey is not like any other software company or a SaaS-based company or an e-commerce company, because we were typically trying to manufacture a product, that too with a quality specification which is not there yet in India. And when you go to the authorities, when you go to the governments, they don't have a policy framework around that. Honestly, till last year, we got our first proper data privacy law around the information. And for the commercial vehicles right now, if you look at the industry, I can quote it properly right now that in this COVID situation right now, we have realized that how important are the people who are doing deliveries right now. And it is going to be a very, very crucial time for the logistic and the freight industry coming in next 6 months to 1 year to make sure that the supply chain again gets back in shape. Not just essential, but non-essentials. We cannot ignore the non-essentials right now because a huge portion of the industry is actually of non-essentials. And that includes a lot of MSMEs, SMEs in the perspective. So while talking to the ministry, mostly transportation, we realized that we don't really have a framework around the whole connected mobility or autonomous mobility, but safety is still talked about. Safety is still one thing which people are now talking about. And if I talk about the automotive industry, you see that till today, finally we have achieved a state where the seat belts are mandatory and becoming, important in the vehicle. Whereas if you compare with US and Europe, these things have become mandate almost like a decade back. So we are kind of slow in adopting those safety protocols. But good thing is that this is giving a good opportunity for startups like us to kind of go in the market and come up with solutions which are going to be very, very helpful for the people who are delivering those commodities. So that is how we kind of started working on these things, and so far the journey has been pretty good, but challenging, like how Parul was also mentioning, because we don't have. I mean, we typically have the problem of showing the X return to the investor. That's the most crucial part, because funds have a limited what do you call time period. They have to invest first 3 years, maturity for 5 years, and then exit. For autonomous mobility, connected mobility, that too with a quantum of money going into manufacturing, it's very, very difficult to show those number of X. So that kind of reduces attraction with us in the investment scenario. But how Paul was saying, there are still a lot of stakeholders in the market who have been very supportive, who have been very helpful. Thanks to bodies like NASCOM, who have been kind of helpful in integrating us with the ecosystem. So it has played out pretty okay, and just that we are now continuously working on the scenario that how will the go-to-market work for us in the COVID situation.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's get to Shubham now. Shubham, tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you get the idea for this startup? You've been also a sort of serial entrepreneur. So what made you realize that you're onto something worthwhile, something which you can productize and roll out into a company? So tell us your origin story.
Yeah, thank you, Madan. So it started from the Ideacode when I was doing my master's in chemical engineering in London. So I read about this problem of crop burning in London newspapers, crop burning issue in New Delhi, and I was surprised. Oh, it's New Delhi, and then I was like, okay, there's an issue in the newspaper about it. Being a chemical engineer, I thought, okay, there's something that I can do about it using my technical skills, and that is where it started. So what I did, once I finished my master's, I applied for this fellowship program, which was under DBT at Venture Center in Pune. The theme of the program was waste management. So it was an 18 months fellowship. There were 4 people who were selected across the country for this. I was fortunately one of them. It allowed me to travel to different parts of the country, meet different farmers, understand the ground problem, and then come up with a business model. So that was one of the biggest outcome of it, because sometimes entrepreneurs also miss out the problem or the need, and they create something doing secondary research on the internet. So by interacting with the farmers, it helped us a lot. What is the need, if there's a need or not. And then the fellowship also gave us some funds to prototype and develop certain products. Using those funds, I created 2 products. One was a Particleboard for the furniture application. There our focus was on the binder which goes in Particleboard. So not many people are aware about it. If I ask you, you know that your furniture can cause you cancer, you might not be knowing about it. So there's huge concentration of this formaldehyde adhesive which goes in our furniture, which is still, the regulations are not made around in India, but as compared to US and Europe, they have strict regulations about it. So that was my first product, where we wanted to create something which is environmental friendly, but also healthier for our people. Second thing that I created under my fellowship was packaging material. So there we worked on the pulping process, because the way the paper is made is a very dirty process. It consumes a lot of water, it consumes a lot of chemicals. Last year there was a news in Uttar Pradesh when the Kumbh Mela was organized, that around 60 paper mills were closed, because all that toxic effluent from these paper mills was going where these people were bathing for the Kumbh. So we developed a process which is a 0 level discharge one, which what it means is that there will be no effluent discharge from that process. Second thing was that in paper industry, there are certain byproducts which were not exploited commercially, such as lignin. Lignin is like a natural glue found in plants. So we were able to extract certain byproducts also. And so these are the 2 things that we have currently worked on. And the fellowship at Venture Center, it helped us a lot to create a pipeline. We have a lab there to make our products a reality. That is how we started.
Great, thanks, Shivam. So my next question to both of you is: you've shared us your origin stories. Tell us a little bit about how your products actually help your customers. So maybe share one or two use case scenarios of actual customer usage of your products, or a hypothetical future kind of a scenario. Kumar, you want to give us a day in the life of your customer kind of a scenario?
So I'll give you a insight we had from the last pilot we did with the UPSRTC government. And to quote the use case, last year there were a couple of accidents on the Yamuna Expressway where a lot of people, the passengers had died in the bus accident. So we talked to the government, we talked to authorities, and we said we can actually help you monitor the driver because majority accidents which are happening due to driver distraction. So what my device is able to do is that it can look at the driver, it can look at the road, and predict an accident. It can calculate the driver behavior, if he's rash, if he's going smooth, and based on the scenario, it can create a context and indicate the driver that you might be entering into an accident-prone, situation. So the driver can take an immediate response. He can probably, brake, or he can steer, or he can kind of slow down. So we ran the pilot for 1 month on a bus from Lucknow to Delhi, and there were multiple drivers for the bus. So we were able to map the driver behavior across the spectrum, which is actually a very, very important thing because a lot of state department needs to train their drivers, to coach their drivers for the highway driving. And we were able to tell them that who are the good drivers, who are the bad drivers. And that's a very, very important use case because the whole motor insurance industry is lying on that. And that's actually one of the largest things we're looking at in the coming years. When you buy a motor insurance, which is mandatory for you, they always give you a premium, right? And there is a concept that if you're a good driver, you can get a good premium. So how do you tell a person who is a good driver, a bad driver? There is no benchmark today. We are getting that benchmark in the industry where you can actually see who is a good driver or bad driver. So in the next coming years, the whole expansion plan is towards getting more devices in the vehicle to get our software in the market so that we can start analyzing the driver behavior, we can monitor more drivers. And slowly, we'll be able to kind of build a benchmark in India that when people say, people die very rash in India, we'll be actually having a proper stat showing that how many drivers are rash and how many are smooth, which is going to be a very, very important use case for various industries. So, yeah.
Very good. Thanks. So, Shubham, can you explain how your product would work out in a day in the life of one of your customers?
Yeah. So, currently we're working with two clients. One of them is AB Bev, which is one of the world's largest beer company. They make Budweiser and Corona. So what we are doing with them is that...
Did you say Corona? Yeah, no, just yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So how beer is made is that they make beer out of barley. And what is left on barley farms is the barley waste. So what we do is we take that barley waste from the AB Bev farms and we create 6-pack beer cartons for them. So it's like a circular economy concept where the waste from the farm is converted into value for AB Bev. So maybe, hopefully, even the beer market is pretty down in India. But hopefully, once everything are all right, you guys might find your favorite beer in our packaging material. So that's what we hope after lockdown. Our second trials are going with this tools company, Stanley Black & Decker. It's one of the world's largest global tool supplier. So Stanley, in fact, both AB Bev and Stanley, they have signed an agreement with Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So what this agreement is about, that by 2025, some of these MNCs, they want to get rid of all plastic, single-use plastic from their packaging. So that's their goal. So with Stanley, we have taken our user cases on the measuring tape product. So right now, that measuring tape, it comes in a plastic packaging. So we have substituted that plastic packaging with our material, which is a molded case. So we have done successful prototyping for both these companies. And as I said, hopefully, since things are a bit slowed down, we'll be able to do something good with both these companies. One insight that I would like to share as an entrepreneur over here is that working with these large enterprises, it helped us a lot because not only we are prototyping for them, but we are also getting good guidance from their executive leadership in terms of everything, whatever support that we need. So it also helps us to do customer validation, but also accelerate in other domains which are needed for the startup to grow.
The other question I have for both of you is what I asked Parul earlier, which is competition. Are there any other companies doing anything similar to what you're doing, or you're very different in some ways? Some features you have are better than other features. You want to start, Kumar?
Yeah. So I think typically for every industry, there's a learning curve, right? And for our industry, it starts at GPS. And if you see, GPS right now is becoming one of the very important assets for the fleet companies, and being it Ola and Uber as well. And like how last year we had, like the department said, FASTag is it's a mandatory thing for the commercial vehicles. Similarly, now there's a compliance which was launched by ARAI, the Automotive Association of India, which said that all the commercial fleets need to have a GPS, because GPS will help the tracking for the vehicle, and that can be used for safety and other fleet management purposes. Then slowly from GPS, there's some Chinese company who entered the market, and they started making some camera devices, like simple, recording cameras. And surprisingly, last year, a very famous company which is popular for making aqua guards and water purifiers, Kent, they came up with a device which was like a recorded device for the vehicles, which basically Shah Rukh Khan was advertising to ensure safety of your kids and loved ones. So the market has kind of evolved from GPS to recording devices, but they don't provide the active safety. This means the device does not have the capability or intelligence which can predict the accident and alert the driver. That is where we come into picture. And it is a kind of matter of pride for us, because globally there are almost 5 to 6 companies or less than 10 companies who actually make devices like us. So we are an edge-based company, and the AI which we basically build on the device is something which is pretty unique, and we're still trying to improve it, kind of make it more mature and make it learn faster. There are only very few companies, mostly out of US and Europe, who are doing it, and that way the competition is definitely a huge thing for us. But Indian market is yet open, and like I said, most of the companies are from US. They're very expensive. They're pricing the products at a very, very high level, which fleet companies won't be able to pay. So for us, the innovation is not just technology, but it's also the business model. We have come up with a very unique business model for the industries to kind of adopt these technologies and still move forward. So it's an interesting journey, and definitely I'm looking forward to start testing it more, because right now we have just done a couple of pilots with the companies. Now is the time to actually go on a slightly more commercial scale and improve it on the top. So, competition is definitely helping us a lot in kind of benchmarking ourselves in the best way possible.
Great, thanks. Shubham, how about you? What's your marketplace like in terms of other players, competitors, potential partners?
Yeah, so I think about products also. So talking about the Particleboard, this is the rice straw Particleboard that we have made, which has a non-formaldehyde glue. So talking about the Indian ecosystem, we compared our product with the best-selling board in India. And what is also important about this Particleboard is water absorption, because you would have come across that your furniture swells up sometimes, especially people who are living in Mumbai, they would have experienced. So just to give like a number in terms of our technical competitive advantage over here, the best-selling, we were 7 times better in terms of water absorption properties, and almost equivalent to wood-based boards. So in India right now, there is no player who is making formaldehyde-free furniture. Globally, yes, there are certain people, because the regulations have pushed people to look for formaldehyde-based, non-formaldehyde-based particle boards. Another thing is that if you compare with global players also, people are using wood mainly for creating these furniture boards. Whereas we're able to use waste and create boards which are almost equivalent in terms of strength when compared to wood-based particle boards. In terms of packaging, so I've got my packaging material also. So this paper is made from barley, and one of the major challenges that people who are in the pulping industry have faced in converting agri residue to pulp is silica. So silica is like a chemical component. People have tried it, but then this silica corrodes their machine and it does more damage. So people are very people have been very reluctant to use this kind of material. So through our process, we have been able to overcome and remove silica from our pulp so that it does not hamper the machinery or the process or doesn't pollute or stuff. So this has been a technical advantage. And for the pulping process, people have been doing research. We have successfully validated it, and hopefully we'll also get a patent on the pulping process. So this is where we currently stand. And for crop waste, we have this saying that we want more players, the more the merrier. As there's abundant crop waste available in India, like India generates around like 500 million tons of crop waste. It's almost double the global plastic waste. So we need more people, we need more researchers to come into this area and commercialize products, as eventually it will help us in setting up the supply chain to the markets. So that is how we see it, and I personally look the crop waste scenario as more of a collaborative approach. I think Madhu got disconnected, I guess. Kumar, am I audible to you?
Yeah, you're audible.
I think it's just us, we can talk there. I'll ask you some questions.
Nothing is join. We'll join sometime.
There is some issue.
Shubham, meanwhile, when Madan sir rejoins, so there's a question for you. Where do you see road safety in India after COVID-19? As a startup, do you have the bandwidth to travel and directly talk to farmers?
This is for me.
No, this
for
is
Shubham.
That's for me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully we have to, because this is also applicable for other products like food and grains, and that in the same periphery we also fall in, because we're also sourcing our raw material from the farms. So we'll follow the existing supply chain which is established for grains and other commodity items from the farms. So we hope it will be, I think the government has already done some relaxations post 20th of April. So I don't see much of a challenge there in sourcing our raw materials. And another thing is that the way we do it is a decentralized approach, that our process is to be based in rural areas and not in crowded places. So I don't think that will be a big challenge for us post-COVID.
Right. Right. And there's another question coming in. Is there some standard like ISI certification or Mark 1 can look for in their furniture?
Yes. So so being a researcher, it's a standard practice that we have that there are certain standards, IS standards, and even European standards that we have to follow for doing our testing. Like, for example, if we have to test the mechanical properties of this board, so we follow a proper standard. It's IS 1038 for the particle boards, and so we follow those standards. And even when we compare it with other competitors, those particular standards are followed. We are not into the market yet, but once we launch into the market, then there are other kind of certifications that we would need to get it.
Right.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I was offline a bit. We had a small power cut over here. My next question would be, how are you educating the market? One challenge many entrepreneurs face is that the market doesn't know much about the product or the service. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions. You have to give them different kinds of demos, etc. You have to do some hand-holding with them. So in your case, what's the different ways you're doing to bring the market up to speed with your industry or technology? Why don't you start, Shubham? Or, Kumar, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's an interesting, situation for us, because we end up teaching our customer more often than selling the product. And someone, has been kind of coaching us, and they said, if you're spending too much of time educating the customer, then you're a, education company, you're not a product company. So we realized that it has to be in a very differential manner. It cannot be something that I can just go to a customer and kind of start putting on to him. That's the reason why we started doing the pilots first, not because we were trying to test technology only, but also because we wanted to kind of build those use cases, build those white papers, and show the value proposition first without any monetary or commercial value out of it. It is purely targeted towards like how we did with UPSRTC. We have a pretty good use case today. And now we're talking to Karnataka government, we're talking to Maharashtra government, and we have a pretty solid value proposition to show them that, look, this is how it works. And has been proven already. So when technology is new in the market, it takes some time to kind of get the learning curve for the customers who will start using it. And so the other stakeholders also take in time. One interesting thing which has come up recently is that after the COVID situation, a lot of fleet companies are not renewing their insurance, right? Because the whole the thing is that a company which had 100 fleets, they don't have fleets running right now at that capacity. So why should we waste too much of money getting insurance? So there's a concept called usage-based insurance, which is typically like you can pay insurance for every kilometer you drive, and that is now becoming a very, very important mandate for IRDA. And possibly, if the policy framework is kind of built around that, we might be able to adopt UBI very soon, and that itself will start kind of help us in the adoption of technology, because UBI is directly dependent on driver monitoring system. So when that happens, there will be a learning curve which people will eventually catch up.
How about you, Shivam?
Yeah, so like as I was speaking earlier that like if I ask you that that if your furniture can cause you cancer, so people are not aware about it. They don't know that the furniture that they get from fancy stores, the formaldehyde content can stay in indoor for 70 years, and they keep on slowly breathing it, and that's the danger that it can cause. So there is absolutely, like, so far whatever surveys we have done, people are not aware about it. And that's one challenge that we have to start awareing people about the formaldehyde awareness. Secondly, about the packaging one, like with the customers, we have not found any problems as such, because there is a very good awareness about sustainable packaging these days. Everyone is talking about it. People, they want to get rid of single-use plastics. The governments are very proactive, and I'm like really proud of the Indian government, especially for being so proactive in taking steps for banning single-use plastic, especially Maharashtra government, because I'm in the state right now. And all these big companies have also realized that over 200 MNCs have signed a pledge to get rid of single-use plastic. So there's a huge demand that we are witnessing from the customers. From every front, we are getting really good traction in terms of demand from the customers. So absolutely no problem in the back end.
Okay. How about intellectual property? How many of you guys have filed any patents, or are there any trademarks? Do you need to license any IP from other companies and so on? Kumar?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a couple of IPs going in process now. Till last year, we didn't have much of them, and we just started filing for the whole IP thing. We do have a couple of things we are trying to kind of see if we can integrate with the existing players in the market already. That kind of makes it easy, but IP itself is a huge challenge sometimes, because the rate at which innovation is right now happening in the globe, sometimes it kind of contradicts with what is happening. So we're trying to be very careful in evaluating that what can actually be of more value to the customer, and we are keeping it pretty much open to innovation which can happen. And the people we've been hiring recently, we are pretty open towards bringing new things in the place. But yeah, I mean, eventually we will look forward to kind of having some assets which are on definitely these kind of IPs and patents.
How about you, Shivam?
So one good thing that happened to us because of lockdown was that we were able to finish our patent drafts with our attorneys, and that was going for like some time. And one bottleneck that I have is that I have to get a stamp paper to file it to the patent office. So once that the stamp vendors' offices are open, I'll be able to file the patents. And other than that, I think research collaborations with partners. There are two central institutes in India, and then there's one US university. They have their own IP. So we are working in research collaboration using expertise of everyone, people who have been in the industry from some time. So they also have their own ideas.
Okay, very good. We've got about 20 minutes left. I have just one or two more questions for you, and then I see a lot of questions that have come in from the audience as well. So my question to you guys now is, briefly, you talked already about this, which is how COVID is impacting you, but maybe you can sort of reframe the whole thing. How is it affecting outside, the market, the customers, and so on? And how is it affecting you inside? How are you guys working from home? Is it a challenge for you to do all your product development only working from home and so on? So maybe Shubham, you can start.
So definitely it has been challenging, like especially working from home, because now there's more work than office work. There's like cleaning work. There is also cooking and all those things. So a lot of time goes in that. Personally speaking, like by the end of the day, I just feel that I'm just completely tired. But in work-wise speaking, internally, what we have done is my entire team has taken up COVID projects because our lab is closed due to the lockdown. We are working on 3 projects, which I'm going to I'll just take some time on talking about it. First one is a face shield project, which we are doing in Pune along with some of the entrepreneurs at Venture Center. And so this was a request from the Pune police. They came to Venture Center and they asked that, could you guys make some face shields? So some of us came together and we started like 2 weeks back. And so far we have delivered around 47,000 face shields to hospitals and doctors and police officers, army personnel in Pune and nearby areas. And also recently last week we launched it in Indore and Gwalior through my non-profit Dancha. The second project that our team has developed is known as Solate. So Solate is like a community platform, and this was also a thought which occurred after this face shield project, because we saw a huge problem with the vendors and suppliers, and then PPE suppliers especially. So we decided to make this platform where the grocery owners, the PPE suppliers can list their products. They can set up a virtual shop over our website, and there can be a mix and match of the demand side and the supply side. So that is Solate. The third thing is Thamba. So Thamba is like the Marathi word for stop. And so it's world's first anonymous real-time community-sourced crowd tracking application. So what I mean by this is that this app will function like Google Maps. So like Google Maps gives you an idea, like when you have to travel from one place to another place, you go to Google Map and you see the traffic. If it is red, there are a lot of cars. You don't go to that area, right? So what Thamba does is that it creates a heat map based on cloud density. So if I'm at my home and if I have to, say, go outside to buy essentials, I can see the heat map on my mobile app. And then I can say, okay, there are a lot of people there. I will not go that side. So it's an app which helps in social distancing. So these are the 3 things which our team picked up during the Corona times to help people, also to help the community, and making good use of our time. Secondly, as I said, we have been all my team members have been upskilling themselves. It's a fantastic time to upskill. We have been taking different courses, and wherever we have done, I think it's an amazing time to learn new things. So that is what my team has been up to. Externally, how things are going to change around Corona is that talking, say, about Solate, like even the way we work, and because you also know about it, that more and more digital platforms are going to come. And like one myth, especially this Corona has broken out on the way we work, is that people can work from home where they want in their locality, in their community. People can work from villages. They don't have to move to big cities. Maybe it can, solve some bigger problems. It can solve travel issues. People, like, say, take Mumbai as an example. People travel far taking local trains. Why do we need to travel? We can work from home also, right? So it has broken different myths around the working culture that we have had so far. And maybe this might bring communities together, like people, like society like India, where people, they live with their families. People can live in their small cities, people can live in their small villages, they can work together, they can work on these ID platforms, irrespective of moving to big cities, and can solve many, many issues. So that is how I see the working culture being adapted after the Corona. And to me, it's a very positive thing. And I somehow I feel that, like this Corona had a big lesson for all of us and in multiple aspects. And maybe it's for a longer run, it's something for good for all of us. That is what I think.
Yeah, very well said. Redefine work, redefine life. Kumar, what's your take on this? Internal, external impacts of COVID on your market and on your own employees? Kumar.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is that our investors have kind of put us in the cash conserving mode, and that has been the most important things for us, because we have a team and we have to kind of have a clear picture for at least 1 or 2 years. And honestly, no one really can predict what's going to happen, because until a time, and I'm actually kind of banking on this, at the time vaccine comes into the picture, things will be kind of skeptical that way. So only after we have a vaccine and it is tested widely, then only we can see that things might start falling in shape. So of course, the first thing is the cash conservation in the company. Second, like I said, the work from home is not a privilege for all. And for us, a very important thing is that even we might be able to work from home, but the people or the customer for whom we are working are going to be on the streets. We've been talking to companies like Big Basket, and we saw that they had almost 3 to 4x of demand rise in this COVID situation, and they're not ready for such kind of situation. And Hari, I think yesterday he only tweeted that the kind of fallout they're facing right now is not because they don't have enough resources, because there's a lot of lockdown situation. The transportation has been affected, and they don't have enough staff to kind of also look at the deliveries. Thankfully, I think Bangalore has started an initiative with the government where they're basically taking orders on WhatsApp and delivering those things. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to see that can we make that whole transit safe, because ships will still be sailing, trucks will still be moving. You have to get your resources in place, and drivers have to drive for same number of hours on a daily basis. And this might put an extra pressure on the industry. So we are just trying to figure out, can we sustain our business model in such a way that I can still give my technology to these companies and still get the value to be shown to them. But the problem is that most of the companies right now are bleeding cash. The trucks are not getting into 100% utilization. The overall capacity utilization of the industry for the freight had come down by 50% last week. This means 50% of the vehicles were just standing still. There was no business for them. So when they don't have money right now, they cannot invest into technologies like this. And the fleet industry, or the logistic industry, runs on a very thin margin. So that's a big challenge from the customer end. We are trying to figure out that. So that is where the whole ecosystem is kind of disrupted. Definitely, there is an opportunity. Of course, every situation has some kind of opportunity, but the opportunity comes with a cost.
Yeah.
And that is what I've tried to even analyze with one of the articles I recently posted on Medium, that the crude oil prices, which have gone down drastically, almost touching at zero from the US, how that can impact on a global level for the adoption of electric vehicles. And that itself means there's a big opportunity for India. But India really has to work around the bureaucracy, the politics, because that always comes in the way. In this whole situation, we as a startup, we tried helping with the COVID kits, providing PPE kits as a donation. We tied up a couple of associations to kind of provide meals for the daily wagers. We did what we could do best, but in this whole process, we identified there are a lot of gray areas as well. And the people who have the essentials are trying to make the maximum out of it. So I think that's a part of the journey, and it's just that how you evolve in the situation is more important.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, we just have about 10 minutes left, so let's take one audience question now. And the question is about how to sell to government. How easy is it for each of you, in your experience, to work with government as a customer? There's a lot of bureaucracy. Some would say corruption. They don't get it. You don't know how it works. It's very opaque, etc. So, from your experience, either with the company or other companies, what are some tips you would give to the audience, the startups in the audience, on how to engage with government? Shubham, you want to start?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. So there's one suggestion that somebody gave me. I had the similar question some time back, So there are different kinds of people in government, right? There are not everyone is slow, not everyone is difficult. You need to find your big fish who can help you sail through this ecosystem, and there are such people there. Only thing is that you need to find that big fish who will sail you around, saving you from these small piranhas who will bite you, right? So that is one thing, and it can take some time, right? But it's possible. We have been able to do it, and like I was saying that we have MOUs with two central research government institutes, and that also took time for us. So what we did again, we approached to different people. Who is the main decision making person, and who has a say in the process? So it's important to find that person, right? And so we approached and find different people. There was a person who was like, don't waste your time, like we are a government employee, we just come here 9 to 5 and we get our salary, we live happily. Don't waste your time, you're a very passionate person, go somewhere else. There have been some cases, but then that the same person, he connected me with a passionate person in his department, right? So you have to keep on pushing and you have to keep on following. That's very important, right? Because these people, like a lot of them, in my experience, even with Damik as a non-profit, they might not be as passionate as you. So you have to have patience. You have to keep on following with them, and it will work eventually. Like so far, we have not found. Maybe it has taken a year also, but it has worked for us.
What about your story?
I think there's only one answer when it comes to government. You have to be a really, really good lobbyist.
Agreed. Yeah.
Lobbying is one thing which I don't know why India doesn't support, but in many ways, a lot of people are lobbying at a lot of levels, and especially when it comes to major industries which are the biggest contributor to the GDP, are run by lobbies. Okay, you start from the oil, from energy, automotive, every single thing. You have associations. They drive the whole thing. And ultimately, you can understand, right? It's a very simple math. The government needs money to work. Money comes from either taxes or the corporates for the funding, right? So if you have to get your job done, you need to kind of be smart enough to figure out those links in the chain. Like, how people, obviously everyone tries to go through a lot of people in the, hierarchy, but there are always one or two movers who are very important. And that takes, I think, experience. It always comes with experience. So if you meet the people who lead the lobbies, they are the people who have 20, 30 years of experience dealing with the bureaucrats, the ministers, and the corporates. So if you can't lobby, then find the lobbies for you. That's very important. Because not everyone can be a lobbyist. People think, and I think this is very important. Every startup thinks, they're the best. Of course, in some of the other way they can imagine that. But it's a race of survival. And the best and the worst will survive. The people in the middle will not survive.
Very good tips from both of you. We just have about 5 minutes left. Maybe you can end by telling us a bit about what are your next steps. Are you looking to hire people? Are you looking for fundraising? How can people in the audience contact you if they want to reach you, maybe through LinkedIn? What are your suggestions? Next steps. Shubham, you want to start?
Yeah, like anyone can contact me anytime on LinkedIn. I'm available. Usually, I'm very responsive there. Secondly, about our next steps is that we're utilizing this time on so right now we are not in the market. We were about to touch the market if this thing was not happened. So that will be the first thing that we'll do, and we are looking for fundraising. In fact, before Corona happened, we were in the due diligence steps of some of the funding grants, but that's stuck. So we'll see how it goes. We do need money to go ahead. The next thing, once this lockdown is lifted, we want to touch down in the market. And we are looking for, also about the team, we are looking for people in the business area. We're looking for a business development manager. If anyone is interested, they can come and contact me.
Yeah. So Kumar, what about you? What's your road ahead? What's your ask? What are your needs, your plans?
Thankfully, we kind of, we are thankful that we were able to raise early. So honestly, investment is not the immediate requirement, but we still are hiring. We're hiring for all the software development people mostly. But on the business side, that is going to be a very crucial thing. We're trying to talk to as many partners as possible, as many people as possible, and just analyzing the situation in the coming months. So, and I think for people who are kind of in the audience who are looking to kind of work with us in any way, it's pretty much open, and I think Crowd Product can share the information about our contact details. I think it's an interesting time. No one knows what's going to happen. Even I don't know what's going to happen. All we can do is speculate. More important, the thing people have to understand is that you need to survive. If you survive the next 6 months to 1 year, I think we might be able to do something. So let's hope for the best.
Very good advice, Kumar and Shubham, both of you, that survive somehow for the next 3 to 6 months, live to see a better day, learn to live with uncertainty. You never know what's going to happen. The reality on the ground is shifting very fast, whether it's lockdown, post-lockdown, things change a lot. And the lifting of lockdown doesn't mean it's back to life as normal. Far from it. The biggest challenge now is after lockdown is lifted, how will our health system cope? How will the economy work? How will laborers be brought back? How will customer attitudes towards the business change or not change, and so on? One question I see coming in now is, how do founders stay in touch with each other? Well, I guess it is through forums like this, which Vinay organizes. We at Your Story and at Tribe Bangalore also organize a lot of events. So just search online for events on these websites and you can see how founders are staying in touch with each other. Vinay, over to you for the last few remarks. How many people do we have online, for example? Will you be writing an article about this? What are some other events that you want to organize? And how can our audience stay in touch with you to address some of the concerns they have? Vinay? You're on mute. No, Vinay. Check your headphone jack.
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you, Madan and the panelists. I really appreciate it. So, if there's one or a couple of things that people are really realizing in these times is people are a lot more into learning and development. Just so much that I've gathered by listening to sessions, and also people are very collaborative. So as Crowd Product, we want to be involved with various event organizers, and we're already working with Your Story, Thai, and you name it. So we want to be the enabling infrastructure to make things happen. The next set of events that I can think of right now is on Tuesday, there is one on AR/VR. I'll share the details. And on Friday, there's one on AI and machine learning, data sciences and AI. I'll be happy to share. And there are a lot of other activities as well, which you can find on crowdproduct.com. So again, just to reiterate, the learning and development and collaboration is what I think people during and post-COVID will also be into. Thank you all again. Thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Kumar. Thanks, Parul. And thanks a lot, Madan. And I'll be writing a post on Your Story on the learnings and takeaways, and look forward to keeping in touch.
Thanks, Vinay and team, and thanks to all the audience members for asking their questions. And Shubham, Kumar, and Parul in absentia, have a good weekend, whatever that means. I mean, weekday, weekend is all the same now. But anyway, have a good few days ahead, and let's celebrate the last week of lockdown before things get back. Bye, guys. Take care. Cheers. Stay well, stay safe.
Sure.